Hello everyone! Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Weekend Frivolity. This is our Broiler Chicken Show. Hello everyone! Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com. By all means, if you have any questions, I keep the YouTube page open out of the corner of my eye. So if you want to post there, feel free. I see there's only a couple people over there. Do notice though that you want the YouTube link? Will do, sir. Let's see, how do we do that? I think we go like that, and we'll post that in there. Boom! Oh, look at that! Joshua beat me to it. Joshua's so fast. Way to go, dude. Thank you very much for your assistance. I did see quite a few people piled into the hangout here. We got about 15, 20 people in here. I'll turn my camera off. So I know Grim, when he does class, he has his little camera on there, and he looks so professional. I don't know what it is. I guess I'm camera shy, but I don't know. I haven't figured out how to do the OBS thing and make sure that the camera's on. But anyway, I'm blabbing here. Okay, so as you can see, we actually just changed data server providers on the dashboard. So anybody who's coming on the dashboard going, what the fuck, man? Please understand, Stewart is slowly working away on conquering this beast. And he had to wipe out the entire old database of data, now switching over to this new data source provider. So dashboard itself kind of empty right now. But as I've said all along here, you will know, especially when I do these weekend broiler chicken shows and stuff like that, you will know TRI is firing on all cylinders. We've taken advantage of the developer cycle and got our ducks in a line for this upcoming next cycle. So not much to really comment on over here because it's kind of empty. And really for these broiler chicken shows, I primarily like to concentrate on crypto. If people have bigger sort of macro questions coming out of the level 1 program, I'm more than happy to entertain that. And we spent some time in one of the recent broiler chicken shows going through, what does risk on and risk off look like in the marketplace. And I think that was a pretty good tutorial for everyone. But I think, if there are any level 1ers on the call, I did see somebody had asked earlier this morning on the site, so I'll probably take advantage of that now. And Jacques, if you are watching, if you are around, when you do the write-up, and remind me to post the video post before I take off for Liam here. But if you do see that, somebody specifically asked for me to take a look at first. God, I can't remember the damn symbol now. Where the hell was that? So, I should do them a favor and comment on that. Where the hell was that now, though? No, I don't think it's over here. I think it's... and I gotta tell you, a lot of people have said, the functionality that we're building into the website, different portfolios, trade tracking, journals. I've had a lot of fun filling out my journal, and actually through the weekend, and I'll probably talk a little bit about this. I've been implementing a trading plan to try and build a long position against these lows, if indeed this does work out to be a bot and these lows hold. But I'll get into that later on. But detailed summary of every single trade, and I'm having a lot of fun right now. I'll talk about it more in a bit, but I've built sort of a trading plan that should encompass all different time frame traders all into one big honking trade, and I call it my army, where different parts of the army get implemented given different levels that come in. And ultimately, if we do work our way up top, I'll have my full army in the market and rocking and rolling, and I just sort of deploy different units given different time frames. But we'll talk about that in a bit. But anyway, I just wanted to mention that the site functionality is coming along really, really nicely. And that's a testament to Sjord and our CTO, and like I said, taking advantage of this developer cycle to build all these tools out for you. But somebody specifically, and I think it was over here, asked me to take a look at a coin. Before we finish today, just remind me if we're an hour or so into this, that somebody asked me to look at BTC versus First. So it is First, but what the hell's the damn symbol? I mean, I don't think you just go 1ST, is it? Oh, there it is. 1ST. What a knucklehead. So before we're done here, somebody remind me to take a look at this thing. Holy flatline, Batman. If anything, this is such a good commentary on crypto. And, it's also a really good commentary on venture capital, too. So somebody just remind me before we're done here today that I need to just do an analysis on this particular name. And just an FYI for site people, and I was tweeting it out and sort of also on TradingView and all that kind of stuff. One of our site members had sort of been working on a fun day trading algorithm, trade plan, trade setup. I don't know whether I've been telling the public too much about this recently. But it's been lots of fun vetting this day trading setup out. What does vetting a setup out look like? How much work is involved? And in this particular setup, this is a nice trending model setup. But I asked on the site, just to make it a little easier on us, and especially newer people to trading, visual cues, or sometimes they appeal to a different part of your brain. But I just asked on the site, could we build a script where the background color changes when all of these moving averages are all in agreement, and then when they start slipping into disagreement, that the color switches away. So in this particular case, we had the dailies up, the 4 hours up, the 1 hours were pointing up, and so as a result, the background screen went green. Woohoo! But I published it on TradingView, and I want to keep it in our private library so people at TRI get access to it. And this is really more an update just for site people. But I published this script before, and I had a whole bunch of notes and stuff on the chart, like I just published this. And TradingView came back and said, nice try, clean it up, blah, 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 blah. So that's what I was doing this morning. I republished it with just the script, nothing else on the chart. And I even said to TradingView, just please tell me if this still isn't to your liking. But I'm getting the impression that they're happy. Okay. All right. So it looks like they're relatively happy now. So I did notice people that did have access to the script before, they're calling me up saying, hey, add me, damn it. All right. So I will get to that, and I'm sure I'm just going to get an absolute flood of messages. But that's really more a message just for TRI site people. It looks like TradingView is happy, and I've updated the link. All the people that had access to the script before, if you go into the library and click on the script that's in the library here, it directs to the new updated script. So if you had access to it before and you don't now, then click on that link. You're going to have to, hey, Brian, give me access, and I got to go through the whole process again. And you can see people are doing that. But you got to send me a message, right? Like, just liking the script isn't enough to get access to it. And, of course, it is primarily for TRI site people. So, don't be insulted if you're not a site person and I say I'm sorry. Okay, so just an FYI with regard to that. Sorry, YouTubers. That's kind of a bit of a tease for you. I do, like I said, the level 1ers just did candlesticks today. So you got a nice introduction to, empires, hammers, shooting stars, fractals, the Williams fractal tool that you can use on TradingView. And it might be on other sites too. And the like. So, if you have any questions about the application of the candlesticks concepts taught in the level 1, of course, you've got your cheat sheets in the library as well in course material. So we got lots of cheat sheets In fact, actually, we even had old site students. I haven't talked to Tim in forever. I sure hope he's doing okay. But a lot of site students in the past went on the net and found all these cheat sheets. So if you have any questions about any of these candle patterns, please reach out to us. Whoops, I guess that was the same one. Oh, maybe that's a duplicate. Oh, it is. Okay. Well, I found a bug in the library. But we've got a whole bunch of candlestick cheat sheet documents, and really half of your job now is to just familiarize yourself with candlestick thinking. And, is it Mr. Cohn? No, Neeson. Steve Neeson. His book, of course, is absolutely invaluable. All right, so I'm gonna, again, I've left the door open here. If you are in the level 1 and you do have questions, feel free to ask. But I think if I'm not hearing any questions, I'll probably just do a nice little overview of the corn. And we'll take a look at first. And if there's nothing more after that, then we'll call it a day. Pretty straightforward. Okay, so let's head on over to the corn. I'm liking this basic thinking of the market. I do understand that we have, of course, the halvening event coming up, which hopefully injects a little bit of stability into the space. Question ultimately, when you're looking at something like Bitcoin, in my eyes, is what's the cost of value, or what's the cost of production? What is value in this commodity? So, the great part about it is the industry's building out really nicely. This asset, of course, is subject to absolute insane FOMO moves, just like any commodity. The level 3ers, we were just wrapping up our introduction to derivatives modules. And of course, in our short derivatives modules, we school people about the insanity of volatility in the market. And there was a gentleman who was writing natural gas call options, and he basically blew himself up. And like 300 high net worth clients at the same time, just because he did not understand that commodities by definition are extremely volatile assets. So, really ironically enough, the corn here is just par for the course, really. And the altcoins, I think, are an excellent analogy on venture capital. And we were even, this morning we were taking a look at Decred. And, I actually remember specifically this whole 2016-2017 crypto insanity bull market. So here's the end of 2016. Here's 2017. Ironically enough, I distinctly remember this. Decred was the very first coin that actually started the bull market. And I remember when we went through this rally, coming out of 2016 into the start of 2017, we're all like, what the fuck is going on here? And actually, this is, I think this is where I made, maybe it was the year before. But do you remember, Kevin, I'd always make reference to you and I sitting in the lounge, just, totally quiet. Nobody was interested in crypto, and we were just posting charts. I can't remember whether that was this February or not. It might have been, or it might have been the previous year. But anyway, the bottom line here is, I think you actually see where the bottom on this name is. And it's interesting how it's created too. We could probably even just say, cycle lows, something like that. So, it is interesting. In venture capital, what can often happen is you have to have an absolute complete reset of the entire market. I've seen that, have you ever seen any penny stocks? Man, they do that all the time. A lot of times the penny stocks, they do a complete reset and then they go right off the board. We've seen that a little bit in crypto too. So, it is interesting. If you zoom out to today, there is that original 2016-2017 bottom. There's the insane blow off top, Lambo Central. And all we've done is we've just taken basically the past couple years to work our way right back down to this original low here. And one gentleman and I, actually a gentleman who works at a company called Bravado Trading, if I'm not mistaken, who is a cherished site member, part of our education program. I think he's an alumni now, but actually I don't know whether he wrote his level 3 exam or not. But Colin, he was very interested in this, and he's kind of like, okay, well, at the very least, now I've got a base to work with. We've come up against an important historic low. And, we might get a nice little sort of fractally action out of this low. That whole kind of look left. Where is the last time somebody actually put a bottom in this thing? And interestingly enough, if we draw that sort of fractal top, sort of anticipation, look left, dead cat bounce kind of idea, look when we actually draw the range of this previous dump, the most recent dump. Look how that 38.2, our Ray barbecue, really the level at which we can determine whether the previous bear has actually stopped, and maybe we might actually have now a new bull uptrend starting. Notice how it is basically that exact same fractal top level here. So what I'd like to see out of a name like Decred is give me that bounce. Then, believe it or not, what I'd love to see on the other side is give me a nice, reload zone test of these lows and then put in a W. So, just when it comes to something like Decred, this is sort of the analogy I'm looking for over the short term. And interesting, like kind of like weekly, longer time frame. I think you could actually enjoy a nice little rally up into this 0.003, maybe as high as 50% level tags, as our classic GAN sort of thinking. And so when we looked at the charts this morning, we're kind of like, okay, well, if we can think sort of that higher time frame, kind of fractal kind of conversation with an ultimate target up here, maybe if we're really lucky, this initial rally actually starts things like bullish divergences to come in on momentum indicators. Then, if those momentum indicators are coming in, then maybe we can get a nice little pullback and a nice little W through things like reload zones. And this actually will represent our trade. I'm going to risk there, looking to take profits there. Is this better than a 2-to-1 risk reward? So that's kind of what I'm thinking in a lot of the altcoin space right now. Let it develop. I don't really want to chase names like this, but I'm sort of letting things develop. I thought it was interesting in another altcoin that we went fishing in recently. You sort of see that same kind of behavior, all the way down. You get these kind of rallies here that stop sort of the bear inertia, nice W's, and, interestingly enough, you can just go and buy the W, which is what I did here. Or you can draw your reload zone tool, and super sexy, insane, slick trader dudes are getting filled down here. But you can sort of see that same sort of logic that I'm thinking, where maybe Decred right now is just doing this sort of initial burst higher here. So, when it comes to the altcoin space, I actually like the fact that we're seeing some base here. Not quite sure how I got off on that tangent. Sorry, everybody. Weren't we supposed to be talking about Bitcoin? Don't. Yeah, that Decred. Okay, so, it sure is nice to see these rallies. And, just to finish off this thought, really my question would be, are we going to start seeing signs of divergence come in here? Boom. Hello. So you can see lower lows in price, higher lows in our momentum oscillators. Nice sign of Willie just ridiculously stupid. Nice volume ramp here. So things are actually looking, encouraging. We can actually start going, okay, maybe the bear's done its thing. Now we just simply want to be patient, wait for some structure, and see if we can get a trade setup that defines the amount of risk that we're going to take and gives us a pretty respectable reward window. So, that's actually, I've seen a lot in this space, and this is one that's just starting to show signs. We can't do anything right now, but we can just be nice and patient. Okay, so sorry for going off on a tangent like that. With regard to sort of Bitcoin higher time frame, I'm wondering whether this tail was a nice FU move. That might have been this cycle's FU move to take us back up top here. I think, on balance, we're stuck in this trading range. It's a very, very wide range. Probably, I wouldn't be surprised if this traffic area right down here actually marks sort of key support. I mean, maybe we have to dip all the way down into here. It's tough to say. But I did like the idea that maybe we could actually see a nice little dead cat bounce. There would be sort of our shorting ideal location. And if anything, if you're a Bitcoin bull, I don't think you actually want to see that, because then that might mean that we roll over and this creates big M's and stuff like that. But that's definitely on the table. That kind of counter trend rally up into that window, I think it's on the table. And then, really ideally, sort of for investors, the way I'm looking at this is there's sort of your trade windows. So investors off sort of higher time frames. If we do get a rally up into here, and then we start brushing up against purple lines again. Remember, it does do this through these cycles. Once, twice, full circle, full circle. Once, twice, full circle. We've done once. Could we do it twice? Sure. Mark could do any old damn thing at once. So, if I believe it or not, I could see a rally up top here. That wouldn't be out of the question. In a bit, we'll talk a little bit more about what that might look like. And then conversely, sure would like to get a dump into reload zones. I don't know whether this really was a Mountain Man tag. I do, there's a bunch of traders on the site that did have Mountain Man levels get hit on this move, but I don't see it here. And this is a V bottom, so technically we should at the very least maybe even explore this tail a little bit, but that does to me have all the sort of markings of a nice FU move. Everybody in public is bearish and then they just rip their hearts out. But on balance, and it's a wide trading range, 6,000 and change to the downside. And we get some inertia and this thing really starts getting going. The purple line, way out here takes us all the way back up against old highs. In the short term, I think you can make the realistic argument, 5,000 to 6,000 on the downside and, 12,000, 13,000 up against all these wicks, the upside. So that's sort of what I'm seeing sort of value-wise on Bitcoin right now. And I think it really actually explains this trading range really nicely here. So that's sort of the bigger picture. We actually look at the weekly price chart, and this is sort of building the basis for I think we could get that stab up into reload short zones. We had all that talk a week or so ago about death crosses, and the public was all thinking one way, and of course the market comes along and goes the other direction just to piss everybody off. One of the reasons why I like using my kind of crazy 13 EMA, 30 SMA off the weekly charts to help me see trend. This has not actually broken down yet, and all we've done is just banged right into moving average support after this violent reversal. So the way that I look at this is, in essence, these are one of these bull-bear battle line. You may have seen me tweet these out before. But in essence, I think there's your trading range. Top of the range, 10,000 and change. Bottom of the range, Now, as of now, 8,900 and change. I have this 8820 on here. I'm not quite sure what reference that's to. That's this high here. And actually that makes sense too, right? Where if we accept back into this range, i.e. this does not act as support, and we start trading down into this range, then look left. Where's the next key support level? Well, technically it's the bottom of this tail all the way down here. So for the time being, I'm just going to simply say, and this is my thinking right now, is this is the top end of the range. This is the bottom end of the range. And lo and behold, we have a nice little inside bar on the weekly charts forming here. This is, these levels are, of course, predicated on this weekly bar finishing, beep, we're done. I've seen countless times, it's only 11 o'clock Pacific Standard Time here. And actually, did we change our clocks today? Sunday, aren't we supposed to change our clocks? I don't even know if that's the right time or not. It might actually be an hour later or earlier. I don't know. Anybody else on the West Coast who's got the correct time, maybe correct me. But I think these computers automatically update themselves. Totally amateur. Sorry, everybody. A little silly. Yeah, I know. Fall back, right? So maybe I better check that. Okay, Brian looks like an idiot now. We'll say Pacific Standard Time, current time. 11:14 a.m. There you go. Okay. So I guess I don't know whether we have switched because it's not PST, it's not Pacific Standard Time now. Is it Daylight Savings Time? I don't know whether we switched our clocks back yet or not. What a silly boy! I just wake up and look at the clock and okay, that's what time it is. Okay, so that a conversation aside, Brian's an idiot. When this day closes, then we can actually hunt for this inside bar fail. And we might find that all hell breaks loose in the next 3 or 4 hours. I've seen that happen before too. So just as of the printing of this video when we do it, and I really don't want to talk too much today, so we'll wind this up in the next half hour, 45 minutes. When this does print, if we have this low currently on stamp, what is that low? 89.6153. If we see that lost, then that means that inside bar is fired, and we probably see structure off the lower time frames confirming that failure. So, as a trader, I always want to ask myself, is there any sort of levels at which I can sort of, pick my fights. I can define pretty easily where if I'm wrong and my thesis is wrong, I'm going to know that I'm wrong and I better just walk away. And because of this intensive battle against both of these moving averages here and this inside bar potential failure off the weekly charts, to me, it feels as though if I actually pick my fight in here, if I'm thinking that this is going to trend continuation pattern its way higher, then I've got a fairly small window here where I can maybe start strapping on some longs. And if this inside bar does fire and we lose the moving averages, then I'm wrong and I can just simply walk away. Relatively well-defined risk window. And if I'm right, then we surge our way up into reload zones up top, and the risk reward is heavily in my favor. So I kind of like that thinking right now. And so through the weekend, and I was kind of showing you earlier, I was sort of demonstrating on the site that I've decided to sort of pick a level to try and where the hell do I do this? Pick a level to try and get myself in. So, off the weekly charts, as we said, we have pretty defined battle lines here. And if I try and sneak my way in here and just simply walk away if we lose these lows, then okay, live to fight another day. If we, if I start sort of taking small little stabs, little nibbles, and there's a really cool trader interview that was done with Top Step Traders, this old prop firm that I used to work with. It seems like a million years ago now. Where they interviewed this older trader guy, and if anybody has the video link, love for you to share it here. And he talks about sending his soldiers into the field. And, maybe you see a weakness in your enemy, and in this case, thinking bull, weakness in the bear's case, and you want to exploit it and you want to attack, i.e., put on a long position. Do you throw your entire army at the perceived vulnerability? No. You send in things like recon units, airborne, that kind of stuff. Then, if levels start coming in that look a little bit more solid, then you start sending in like the infantry divisions, Big Red One, and all that kind of stuff. Americans should all get an erection now. Just kidding, just kidding. It goes on and on. And so more levels come in, then you send in the tanks, then more levels come in, you send in the A-10s, right? And just to carve the enemy up. And then when you've got them on full retreat, right, you're just throwing the last ammo at the trade and, in essence, adding to the trade as it's working in your favor. So that's kind of the fun little I always want to be sort of the demonstrator of best practices, so I've sort of set myself as a challenge on the site, just sort of demonstrating that if I'm going to pick a level and I want to try and sneak in, I'm not going to get too specific. I've got the trade working on the casino, and of course if you get too specific on the casino, they just run your levels. But in essence, been going through the weekend, throwing on infantry, taking the airborne units in and out, clipping the market here and there. And of course, armor and air support and cavalry comes in. Cavalry's coming to the rescue, all that kind of stuff. It's been a fun little adventure to try and explain how you'd sort of put on multi-level trades on the site. And I'm just sort of, through the library walking through, well, I've got this higher time frame thesis, and it's just a thesis. Market could very easily prove me wrong. And if this is a higher time frame bullish setup, how am I going to sort of sneak my way into this trade? And just to give you sort of a visual, I actually sort of wrote it up here. This is the Coinbase chart. Actually, this is the chart that you just saw there a second ago. There is the bot level, and technically we do have 3 higher lows working. So technically the bot is alive. And if we surge up through 96.90, in typical Bitcoin, I mean, it can be extremely violent, extremely fast. I don't want to just get caught flat-footed. So one way that I try to anticipate this level coming in is what I like to call front running the bot, where if we can find W's on other sides of trend line, this technically is what we call an LJ setup, but it's basically the trend line breakout setup. So that's a level that I can definitely get interested in. Then of course we've got W's within W's, so that's a level I can get interested in. All with the understanding that if this key low is broken here, then the whole trade idea is off and you just walk away. So as it stands right now, I'm still, like I said, weekly chart, we've got that moving average support that's trying to hold the market in here. I do like the idea that this one move wasn't just a one-off. Very rarely does the market do that. Usually the market wants to have a move, but it has to break the move into halves, AB equals CD kind of thinking. So technically, as it stands right now, I'm still feeling pretty confident that this bullish setup, and again, remember 11,985 happens to be the target here. And remember we said on the weekly charts, if I actually was an institutional player and I wanted to short this thing, that's that window up top there, and you see it's 11,400 and change. up to 12,500 and change. So really all that is just going to simply take the market up into this reload zone. And also, too, I really like the idea that students, for you level oneers, any level oneers who are watching this right now, this is in essence connecting these fib studies and this whole idea of extensions, where, you see the reload short zone, you see the wicks, right? You see the candle bodies. And then what I really want you to be able to see is, how does the market work its way up into here, right? Maybe we go AB. This happens to be off the weekly chart, so you can't see it that well. But AB, CD, and that's that bot setup that I showed you off the lower time frame charts. All right, AB, CD. In essence, that's how the market works its way up into the level actually that they want to be shorting at. So that's sort of what I'm thinking, and I don't mind the idea of taking my shot in here. But am I throwing the entire army at the trade right now? No. I've got this little double bottom working, so I strapped on about 10-20% of the trade that I'm interested in. I want, like I said, I don't want to go into specific levels on OKCoin on these public videos because it's almost laughable how they run levels. But off the lower time frames, and hopefully you can see down, up, down, breakout. That was my justification to put on the first part of the trade. We actually had a cool little bot setup come in last night that got me to put on my airborne units, inject those high octane guys. But unfortunately, and as you can see here, if we do this, let's go. I was last night thinking, actually, maybe it was sort of midday yesterday. AB. Where are we here? Bot setup. CD. And flip that around. Reverse. All right, so there, it's a really pretty little W, right? There was the entry for the bot setup to send in my airborne units. Remember, my army, my infantry, went in on this double bottom. And then I had, all right, we're getting a nice little bot set up to take us up to 19.5. So my airborne units went in, my short-term shock troops. We hit the move stop to break even, so it was adding to the long trade. We hit the move stop to break even level, and you can see, boom, right out of the gate last night, the rally stalled. So the airborne units were taken out of the field. We only have, the small portion of the trade on, the 20%, the infantry right now. And actually, the way I'm looking at this market is I'm actually getting ready to do some more buying. Where if we do reload zones, boom, I've got bids now working in this level. My cavalry, and I don't know whether those names are the right ones or not, but in essence, on OKCoin, I won't show you the levels because, like I said, they screw you over when you show them the levels. Everybody on the site can see the levels. But on OKCoin, I've got bids working and midpoints of reload zone 78.6s. And in this particular case, I could actually see OKCoin dip down into here. But my hunch is they want to come after this sort of trend line apex down here. So we might see them actually work the market up a little bit higher here to actually get that AB equals CD to line up with those levels. But just an FYI, like I bought this W here. I'm willing to add to the trade, sending in a few more soldiers here. And then, of course, long and short of it here is if we break this original bought low level, then I just walk away from the whatever position I have on right now. So that's sort of what I'm thinking. And, like I said, I like the idea of this trend continuation weighing its way higher here. I like the idea that we have a pretty well defined. If we inside bar and fail here, and bear Remy we call it on the site, then I think the bull's toast. And the worst part about this is all open air down here. So I'm nibbling, taking stabs, if you will, against these lows, but nothing concrete right now. And one thing that kind of I don't want to get too bullish. We all need to understand that markets actually market structure failure here pretty well defined. We had a huge volume, like $1.2 billion in Bitcoin, come and break the market here. So it just goes to show that if big players want to sell in size, they can just destroy price. So if big boys want to sell in size, then what they actually have to do is they have to engineer these counter trend rallies. And this rally actually takes price. Whoops. Let's just move this over. This rally actually takes price right into those sell orders. So again, don't want to get too bullish here. I am willing to probe against this low. If I'm proven wrong and we lose this low, then I'm gone. And of course, the sad thing is you could make the argument that if we do, bear Ramy and fail here, I think you could make the argument that that's actually a tradable top in there. Maybe if the bear Ramy does come in on the weekly basis, any kind of counter trend rallies against these candle body tops into these wicks, reload short zones kind of idea, probably think we're head back on the short side. One thing also too that sort of makes me think that we're not ready to move up is we were through the weekend given sort of uber bullish readings out of our institutional moving average systems here. And as you can see, and it's really cool, I made reference to this script when I started this video about how I had to change it to make TradingView happy. So notice that the script went, deep green here on this sort of, oh my God, all the moving averages are in unison. They're all flashing green. It produced 8 trades through the weekend. Nothing really substantial. This probably just paid for commissions at best. Also, too, I should make a point about this model here. I was running the commission comparisons, and you have to understand, I primarily look at this from like margin trading, forwards contract trading, whether that be things like OKCoin or BitMEX and stuff. And the concerns about commissions, I don't think are founded. There is a huge difference, though, between like spot trading and trading on margin accounts or trading these forwards contracts. The commission differences, it's like you could drive a truck through the difference in the commissions. So these kind of models are entirely geared towards the margin trader, the forwards contract trader on MEX or on OKCoin, and using those commission rates. When I actually calculated the commission rates on OKCoin forwards, they had almost no impact on performance on this. If I include the spot rates, the commissions almost make this model pointless. So we need to understand, and I'm glad I went through this process and priced all this out, but I had a lot of people on the site and on YouTube and stuff saying, well, commissions in crypto, it just doesn't make it worth it. Well, that's if you're trading the spot market, but if you're trading the leveraged markets, margin, forwards, futures, I don't think that that's a concern. So anyway, the point of the matter here is through this bullish window, I was feeling pretty uppy. And I even put out tweets and stuff and saying things like, where are we here? A few days ago, I was like, things are looking pretty uppy here. We got, You can see when M's start coming in all over the place on things like this happens to be an RSI momentum oscillator. That's generally not a good sign, but we want to see our W's. And you can see nice W's, more W's. And hopefully you can see W's in price. And I was like, you know what? We're feeling pretty good here. We could do something. So that's sort of why I was like super excited there through the weekend. And then what I noticed, and I think unfortunately, I think we have to actually get used to this in crypto now, people. This weekend, you can see there's where I threw, part of my stab at getting long for this higher time frame setup on. And then we had little bots throw the paratroopers and airborne units in. They were said, get the fuck out, right? So we're back to just minimal position again. And AB equals CDs sure suggest we probably got to come back down to the bottom. But, this is, I want to watch this video and actually learn something and take from it. Brian, don't, pitch me to buy your damn subscriptions or whatever. Teach me something for free. Okay, well, here you go. If you identify a big price spike, wicks and tails, and then you notice that an M or a W comes in at one end or the other of the range, that's an incredibly powerful signal. In essence, we had this dump, we were heading lower, we had this dead cat bounce, and then the market goes through the process of filling out the range. And you can see how WZs started to come in near the bottom end of the range. And then we worked our way up and we were heading higher, and then, big fat M up at the top end of the range. So you can really make the argument, in this kind of image, especially, if you ever see this going forward, there's a whole bunch of trapped bears in this tail. There's a whole bunch of trapped bulls in this wick. If we can work our way up into that, that gives these trapped bulls the opportunity to get out. If we can dip down into these tails, that gives these trapped bears an opportunity to get out. So, draw your reload zones, align them with candle body lows and highs, and you start coming up with some pretty damn sick levels. And I gotta say, for anybody who's a range trader, we got actually a pretty damn good failure right up exactly where the failure was supposed to happen. So you can't argue that, reload zones and stuff aren't relevant. I mean, if you understand the concept of reload zones, actually this failure makes complete sense. I mean, how often do markets trend versus range? Technically, as we're working our way up here, you should keep that in the back of your mind, knowing, of course, that the higher time frames, the weekly charts, already have big-ass honking M's already working. We should, as we're getting up into here, go, well, statistical probabilities, it's probably got a good 70-80% chance of stalling. And that's exactly what she did. And now, unfortunately, this becomes an extremely significant sort of wall in the marketplace. Very, very difficult to get through this. The good part about this is if we can come back down, hold this downtrend, this uptrend, start Wing out here, and we can break through that top, that becomes an incredibly powerful reversal. But you can clearly see now where the line in the sand on this, this is stamp, this is an hourly chart, and psychologically this should make sense too. If we can accept above this 93, 9400 area, then what that really means is that big psychological number, $9,500. And I think $9,500 now for one of these Bitcoins is now sort of turning into a bit of like I said, a bit of a brick wall. And then remember, when we go back to that weekly chart, oh, gee whiz, I forgot. that 9,000 area right in there, and then these candle body lows. That close there was 95.33. So you can literally see that. Remember, we talked about candle body closed levels. Look how almost identical that is there. So, the rally up top here just in the short term, and then a big fat M that comes in and they dump it, means we've got some serious resistance in this chart right now. So, with that said, I think at best right now, you look at Bitcoin, you just say, all right, I would, and this is how I'm looking at it. How you look at it, it's entirely up to you. I'm doing some probing, some nibbling. Like I said, I've got this key level here, bottom end of the trading range. I like the idea of building. I put on a little bit of a position here. I'll put on a little bit more, bring sort of my average down into this area of this sort of building my little army position. If we start seeing, and I mean, hey, a W is a W is a W. If this thing W's out and we start blasting higher, then I will allocate more of my army. If we can turn here, and you see how I'm hunting this reload zone off of this particular range, but if we can break out higher here, then I'll just simply drag my reload zone tool wherever that ultimately will be and have my cavalry sitting there waiting, bidding on reload zones going forward. But we've got a lot of work to do here. This is an interesting level. And as I sort of told you guys, I haven't, shown you in demonstration and actually doing the trades, but I don't really have a problem if traders come in and buy against these lows, with the understanding that if we do lose these lows, you just got to walk away from the trade. But, we're starting to come into some really interesting areas for people that are thinking bot and stuff. If this really is a bottom and it holds, then, if I can build a position in here and it starts taking off, I can start adding to it as we work higher and higher and higher, with that ultimate destination way up here around 12,000. So hopefully that, sure was long-winded. But hopefully that gives you an idea of sort of what I'm thinking. If we lose these lows, then that means that inside bar failure fires. All my sort of potential bullishness, all that evaporates. So that's sort of what I'm seeing here now on the corn. It's interesting how they're backing it right up against the low end of the range here. I do have a little bit of a position on. Would like to add, would like to see more reasons to get in, but like I said, don't really want to talk about OK coin levels because I know those bastards, they'll go, oh, his stop is right there. All right, fine, let's take it 1 penny beyond. Jerks. Okay, so that's, like I said, I think I've said my piece about the corn, and everybody should be able to understand sort of my thinking there. As I said, somebody had asked just to begin the day. I looked on the website, and somebody had asked for me just to take a look at this first. Any way you shake it, is probably a really good example of, like I said, venture capital. It's weird how we talked about, I don't know whether you guys ever met that Verge, right? Verge, I think, is an absolutely perfect example of how I actually demonstrated best practices to the community. And of course, we made a little bit of money on the trade too. But, the point being that, and this happens to be a weekly chart I'm looking, big insane face rip up, then collapse down, then wait for some sort of channel to form. You want to go in and just nanny nibble, and then of course on the signs of volume and stuff go ramping up, and probably if we let's maybe move this back to a daily. This is exactly what probably 90% of the crypto space looks like right now. This first trade should look almost exactly the same. First Blood. What a funny name for a coin. Right? Can you see the similarities? I mean, talk about flatlining. So, if anything, these nutso insano candles like this, it's almost like this thing wasn't ready to bottom yet. Bottom end of the range, top end of the range. It worked its way back up to the top end of the range. Little bit of FUery, then right back down to the bottom end of the range. And we've kind of flatlined. So, technically speaking, it wouldn't surprise me if there's a nice little counter trend rally off of this range. And we'll go like so. So, this is all open air all the way up here. Notice there's a cheeky little gap right there as well. Here's actually where it looks like the last sort of major fight was. That level right in there. It's probably against that low there. So that's 6,600, and here we are at 1,400. Is there room to make some money? Probably. I can't really comment on the fundamentals of this. I just don't know. I mean, I'm actually a bit surprised. I'll tell you one thing. If your coin is still listed on Trex and it made it through all that shit, then I'd say the odds are pretty good it's going to survive. It might look like this for a while. Like half of the battle with Trex was just surviving their delisting bloodbath. I don't know whether this is available to only international BitterX users, or is it open to American users? That's another conversation altogether. I do see that it trades on Hitbit and BTC, international only. All right, so what I'm sort of seeing, and this is a good sign, I think, is and I've seen Trex do this before, and it makes me extremely angry when they do this. And, this is crypto, unregulated. They can steal your money if they want. I mean, technically, there's nothing stopping any of these crypto people from doing anything. But that NMR, right? This is an interesting anecdote of sort of the state of crypto right now. Notice it's still listed on Poloniex and Hitbit, but what was really interesting about this is, gee whiz, BitterX has decided, oh, you know what? Yeah, we're gonna relist this thing. After they go through the whole thing of delisting and destroying the price structure because it's a mass rush to the exits, and then do your coins disappear? You have to go through the process of moving them to different exchanges or cold storage wallets. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they just say, oh, no, actually, we like this. And it just instantly reappears again. If you were going to create sort of like industry standards, sure wish like somebody could hold these places to account. But this is definitely something that you cannot do. It's going to leave really, really bad taste in your customer's mouth. I think ethically, it's extremely borderline. And I don't think it's good industry standard practices. And it's the one thing that's gotten me quite upset about Trex in the past. So, be forewarned. If you're going to trade on Trex, understand that, and really I would argue all of these exchanges, but I've seen this a lot on Trex. If you have coins that are just listed on Trex, that's a major warning sign. Be careful. Trex might come along and just crap on your capital gain aspirations because they play the games that they do. So, if anything, though, I do like, what's this? Don't know if it's been mentioned, but Coin Exchange is what? Coin Exchange is something. What did you say there? Coin Exchange is closing. Yeah. Well, and yeah. Actually, I think that's fairly that news has been out there a bit. I moved my Bitcoin that I had on there. I got it the hell out of there. Some of the the more mysterious names in that I actually like I had some UFO coin from that last cycle, and it was the only place that's still listed, and now they're folding up. So what do you do with your UFO coins? I don't know. um, okay, so the point that I would just make is this is an interesting commentary on the entire crypto and altcoin space. The fact that Trex is actually relisting this stuff. That's remarkable. So, just to finish the thought with a name like First, you might have had some WEs that you might have gotten excited about this here. The breakout of this W and all this, very suspicious volume-wise. I mean, maybe if you were hunting Ws, you had a little one there that produced a half-decent little rally. Nothing really there. Again, sort of a nice little consolidation there. Nice breakout, failed breakout, volume, they dumped it. So, it's been a tough trading environment, no doubt about it. I don't see any WE action, maybe a little one if you're really aggressive in there. Then new lows, then it gapped lower, then violently moved higher. Wouldn't be surprised if this was on delisting talk and all that kind of nonsense. Moved back up, and this one, it's interesting. When we go over to Trex, this candle did actually made a new high there. So I think, in the short term, this I think definitely is your trading range. There's a beautiful chart pattern. Level oneers. Do we have any level oneers on the call? Peter, you're our contest winner. So, Peter, I need for you to be able to see that. What 3-bar pattern do we call that? Boom, boom, boom. Then I'll give you a hint. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah. It's called an empire. And actually, that's the way that the candlesticks were adopted by the Americans. They start taking Japanese candlestick patterns, and this has a very specific name in Japanese candlesticks. I can't remember off the top of my head. And now, when I was prop trading, everybody and all the Americans are empire, empire, empire. Because it looks like the Empire State Building. Anyway, point of the matter here is, you want stuff to learn out of this video right there, that 3-bar pattern, learn that shit. And as you can see, what do you think? Was it a half-decent signal? I think so. You have to sell here, which is incredibly difficult to do. This is why a lot of professional traders trade the Empire. Is new traders look at this and go, oh my god, I gotta risk that? There's no way I can do that. But you can see if you had your stop right up at the top, you were in, and she never looked back. So I think that is your trading range. Do you want to maybe consider coming in? This is venture capital and is crypto, so get used to it. You're going to get these nutso wicks and tails. It's part of the game. In a weird sort of way, how do I phrase this? I actually don't mind the idea that, if you had come to even like this name here, and you had said, look at Brian, I'm not going to time the market. I like the guys who are behind this story. I think that they were, they're ethical. You always have to look into the fundamentals of your investment ideas, guys. I mean, you just do. Anybody who looked into the fundamentals of that BitConnect story, they would have never gotten involved, right? So, and that's why, half of what I do here at TRI and I build this community is I don't know the story behind a lot of these guys. And I actually rely on Shane right here. Actually, Shane and I are going to have dinner tomorrow night. He's the type of guy that he knows the inside of crypto, and he knows the stories. Colin, Colin from Bravado there. Same sort of thing. Half the time I actually go into the lounge and I go, hey guys, look at this technical setup. Look at this chart. Does anybody know what the fundamental drivers are? What's the story behind this? And, people will chime in and go, oh, yeah, that's a really good project. This guy's behind it, that guy, whatever, blah, 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 blah. So, please do your due diligence. If you're interested in this name, great. But, have a fundamental reason why you're actually getting involved in these. And like I said before, I don't really have a problem if a little old lady just came in, let's say after this spike, said, you know what, Brian, I'm going to go take a little nibble in here. All right. Then, market fails, and so maybe a few months later she goes, Brian, I think I'm going to take a little nibble here. There's a cute little double bottom. That might hold. Maybe, we're not allowed to risk more than 5% of our stake on any one idea ever. So, maybe she throws like 1% of her portfolio in there, and another percent here. Hey, Brian, little old lady's having a bit of a tough time. Well, have you thrown all your 5% in? No, I've only put two of my 5% in. Okay, well, if we get any more signs of bottoming action, you can always work orders. All right, well, maybe I'll go buy another 1% here. Just slowly averaging your way in over time. Now I'm up to 3%, right? You can start to see this thing is flatlining. Maybe we're like, okay, there's not much to do here. I'm little old ladying. I keep, Brian, I had my sell half on a double order from there, and of course that didn't work. Now I brought my average cost down, so now my sell half on a double order is there. Okay, well, just keep working away. All right, well, I went and put a little bit more in, so now my average cost is down here. All right, well, just keep working your sell half on doubles orders. So, if that was it for the purchases, well, the sell half on a double order would just be sitting here indefinitely. But really, I don't have a problem. We're we're back down basically at low levels. If little old ladies are like, screw this market timing, you guys are idiots, I don't know what to do. Well, I really want to be invested, and everybody says this thing's going to be the next best thing since sliced bread. All right, well, you can go put another 1% in, say, here. I don't really like the idea of you chasing up markets, in this particular case. Maybe you were like, hey, finally I get a range where I can go and throw some stink bids in. And so in this case... All right, Brian, you say this crazy reload zone levels. All right, I'm going to go throw another 1% in here. So now we're up to, how much does she put in? 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're up to 4%. She still has one more whack she can do at this thing. Now our average cost is, you just average the dots out. Interestingly enough, these two purchases now are getting kind of the same. So the average cost is now falling. And, you just want to make darn sure that your sell halves on double orders, they may not get filled for months, right? But they're just sort of moving along as your average cost is down. And like that Verge, you might just sit here for 6 to 8 months, and I really have to drive this home. The investment, community, they don't put out any recommendations without, right across the top, Goldman Sachs, Merrill Lynch, whoever, 3 to 5 year time horizon. So, even if you had started this and sort of like, maybe, even right here, you start getting interested, you start watching the videos. That's only a year and year and a half ago. So we're not even halfway through this. We, ironically enough, with venture capital, I don't know what's going to happen. Nobody does. You can't predict the future. I've never seen anybody in my entire life do it. So don't get sucked into that game. But, call me crazy. But even if we just do like 50% retracements of this range, that takes us up into here. That's way up there. And I guarantee you there are going to be people looking at this going, there is no way in hell this thing is ever going back up there. But then we got to go and show you something like library credits. Is library credits even still alive anymore? Might be gone. Oh, there it is. LBC, it's still alive. Oh, yeah. Look at that. I thought they killed this thing. But anyway, the point of the matter here is this rally just basically was exactly the same thing as that first. And now cratering, okay, I have a reload zone. Okay, well, buy a little bit more. Okay, oh, Jesus, I'm getting killed. I want to sue that Beamish guy. And then, okay, well, maybe he's not so bad. I already got my double off. All right, well, I'm feeling pretty good. And you can see, this took, this rally in itself to find the bottom and then actually rally. That was, actually, this happened very quickly. That was only like 6-8 months. Right? I don't know what the future is going to hold. You just don't know. Can I say that this thing has bottomed and we, weekly W's and we are going up right now? I don't think so. There it is. I think we're, like that verge, right? And so frankly speaking, it looks to me like right now, well, there's sort of your top end of the range. There's your bottom end of the range. If you want an anti-nibble, fine. I just went through about 10-15 minute rant there on that. Could you hunt long setups in here? I mean, the interesting thing is, check this out. If you go boobity-boo to boobity-boo and then throw, and I'm just going to work a reload zone bid because this Beamish guy says reload zones are kind of cool. All right, well, notice you would have gotten an absolute gift here. Oops. Now, that doesn't always happen, but as you can see, that would have been just such a nice treat. I doink, filled, rallies away. And you can see, technically this is WE price action. I sure like this level right in here. Look how we W'd right there. Down, up, right against it, down, can't get through those lows, and then back up. So, it's cute. The problem here is, and this is this whole tracks and, oh God, what are they doing? Be careful if you're going to trade. I mean, if anything, what I would say at this point is maybe draw reload zones off of that high going back down to that low and then see if you can sneak your way in off this level. And notice that's going to be, remember we talked about wicks and tails like to be eaten, that kind of talk. So see if you can get some sort of, pretty little W that can come in down in here. Like that would be awesome. If anything, also too, this is, I think, a good analogy. And notice, okay, that's weird. So did this thing get delisted or something? Notice it goes March and then July. So this might be one of Trex's delisting nonsense crap issues. Yeah, it got delisted and then relisted. Thank you very much, Bitterx. I mean, like I said, it's borderline criminal. And you wonder why Trex is having problems and why SEC says, well, cool your jets on things like Bitcoin ETFs and stuff like that. It's because of this kind of shit. I mean, this like I said, this is borderline criminal. And there doesn't seem to be anything that the public can do to stop this. So get used to it. I mean, if you want to play in this space, you got to, if anything, build into your plan that there are sharks and there are, people that want to try and fuck you over all over this space because it is unregulated. And ironically enough, I think like one of the biggest Achilles heels of this space is this whole sort of centralized exchanges. On a bit of a side note, I thought it was really interesting. I mean, I kind of like the conspiracy tinfoil hat kind of guys, and I gotta say, I like this guy's approach. This guy, what's his name? Crypto Chico or something like that. Where I really like the analysis that he does. It's a little bit conspiratorial, all that kind of stuff. But I was pretty impressed with this gentleman's analysis. I really like that. And yeah, he's talking about like there could be a massive fraud going on with Tether and all that kind of nonsense. And half of the reason why the price got bid up recently was because of Tether and stuff. All right, so caveat emptor. Welcome to crypto. Welcome to altcoins. And of course, people have another name for altcoins, which I won't mention here because it's a bit colorful. Yeah, so I definitely know I had first. I don't know whether I was able to move it to another exchange, but I do see that it's not on my Trex. Wonder if I go. Oh yeah, I moved it. Wonder where the hell I moved it. It's around somewhere. Drive me nuts. Oh well. So keep your eyes peeled. Live. Oh, that's where I moved it. I moved it over to live. Live. Have it over there. Oh, I gotta log in, all that crap. Well, I won't spend the time. I know I have it around somewhere. Might even be on a cold storage wallet on my computer. Okay, so you get a pretty good idea of the corn. I'm gonna take a little long shot against these lows. If they fail, I'm out of here. Simple as that. I mean, not really rocket science. We got cute little double bottoms that came in at the bottom end of the range. If we start getting further anecdotal evidence that the bull is alive and well, I'll keep adding to the trade with the anticipation that this bot plays out. If it doesn't and we lose these lows, no emotion, just walk away. Next bus in 10 minutes. Let's see, nothing really to report here. That's all that talk. Altcoins, we talked a little Decred here. I'm really liking the look of Decred here. I think Colin's onto something. I'd keep a close eye on this, Colin. I think Colin's in the call right now, eh? I thought I saw him in here earlier. Yeah, there he is. Hey, Colin. So, maybe go back and watch the start of this video. I did sort of a walkthrough of what I'd like to see here. But I do really like internally what I'm seeing here. This looks kind of sexy. So, we did first, and I sort of give you my thoughts there. A lot of this is all this damn delisting crap. Get used to it. Welcome to crypto and altcoins. You want to trade this? I suppose maybe fishing against these reload zones. Not a terrible idea. And of course, this is all predicated on, is there any fundamental reason to get interested in this name? Are they doing anything? Is there a project? Is there... What's the state of the blockchain? Is it even working? I remember during that last bull cycle, Yobit even had coins, quote unquote coins, right? On their site that people were quote unquote trading that didn't even have blockchains. They were like literally noted on like a piece of like a cocktail napkin on some guy's on his desk. So, do your fundamental research. I can't comment on fundamentals. I can talk about levels. I can talk about, other screens that past students have actually put together. I think we had a really cool screen from Dav that he used to use. I think these are good sort of basic sort of fundamental screens. But at the end of the day, what I've found, because I do believe a lot of this is just pure sentiment, is, what's the tone in the community? Are they feeling optimistic? Are they feeling bullish? Do they have any projects coming down the pipeline? Are there any catalysts? That kind of stuff. So that's my comment there for first. Somebody asked on YouTube page here, I think, for me to look at something. Where is that? Grin. Grin? I know that Grin was one of, yeah, speaking of Dav. I know this is one of his that he was interested in a while ago. Beautiful. I mean, everybody looking at this video. All of your Dav followers. Oh my goodness. I mean, I sure hope you guys saw this. I seem to remember talking to him about this. I mean, this is really what I need for you guys to see and learn. See that beautiful? This is a W within a W. It's just absolutely beautiful. You have no guarantee that this is going to work. You just don't know. So the question ultimately is kind of like what I'm doing with Bitcoin right now. Can I, pick a battle against the bottom end of a range and just simply say, look, if the trade doesn't work, then, even if you bought this double bottom here, if the trade doesn't work, then I'm just going to get out of here. No emotion, just, that's the way it goes. And in this particular case, holy crap. 6.75 risk reward it ultimately had. Now, is it realistic to be able to grab exactly the top there? Probably not. I like the idea of trying to force yourself to take partial profits. New people to trading that come into our education program, I just want you to get into the habit of booking a profit. And if you take 100% profit at 2 to 1, and you just keep trading, and your setup works 60-70% of the time, you will see the results. The numbers are staggering. I do like the idea, let's say you sold part of the position and are more advanced traders. We start talking about how do you sort of build rules in your trading plan to keep you long. Things like using market structure to keep you long. Maybe you sold half of the position at 2 to 1 and then just start trailing your stops below most recent support. So here, boom, you sold half, your stop's now here. Then it rallies up, it pulls back, makes a new low, then breaks to new highs. Now you can move your stop to just below there. Market rallies up, pulls back, makes new highs. So now you can move your stop to there. And boom, you're stopped out. Perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with that at all. And it produced, ultimately, you got half of your position at 2 to 1, the other half off at 4.5 to 1. So what's your average? 3 and change to 1. If you can get into the habit of booking 3 plus X relative to the risk taken over and over and over, and you can even bet 50%, you tell me whether your account balance goes up. You should be able to answer that question. So, that's what I see, and I seem to remember we talked about this setup happening. Now, here's a good example because I remember there was also this potential setup. So here's a really good example where, okay, I took this setup, but this one failed. All right, I was going to take half position profits at 2 to 1, trail my stops on the remaining, but it just didn't work. So here is an excellent analogy of a trader that just simply says, look, I buy W's. And, ideally, maybe we have momentum, divergence, confirmation, yada, 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 whatever. If you try and keep the trade sizes the same, and of course, and big thank you to, who was it on the site? Somebody on the site actually helped me with a spreadsheet program that they wrote to correctly position size. And Joshua and I have been forever trying to get this damn thing licked. And I think we've got it. But the point here is we want to, you really want to risk $100 on this trade or risk $50 or whatever. And then on this trade, you want to risk exactly the same amount of money. But clearly you can see this risk window is much bigger than this risk window. So that means that these trade sizes have to change. You ideally want every single trade to be exactly the same size. So when you vet out your statistical model, 60-70% accurate, If you don't, I guarantee you what ends up happening. Guarantee you. The trades that you put on in size, they don't work. They fail. The trades that you do put on, you undersize, you maybe take a little bit smaller, those trades always work. I guarantee you. And it drives you nuts. So it's really important that you try and figure out trade size wise that every single bet is exactly the same amount of dollars. And Kevin's here saying it's so true. It's like that Murphy's Law. It always seems to happen. This trade you put on $1,000. This trade you put on $10. And of course, this one works. Anyway, this I think is a really good analogy of a trader's life. You're hunting W's. This one didn't work. You're hunting W's. This one happened to be a W within a W. Oh, that's super sexy. And it did work. It's a trader's life. Rinse and repeat. Beg your pardon. Got to live with the results. And one might even argue that, well, Brian, if the same thing, wouldn't that be buying that W there? And as you can see, this one did hit 2-1. So, if you just go off of straight, I'm going to buy these big W's. Here's one that didn't work. Here's one that did work. This one you lose $1. This one you make $2. How's your account balance at the end of the day? If you just bat 50%, then what ends up happening is you still come out ahead. Ideally, you'd like that to be up around 60, 70%. What I would, you really want to get super slick though. I love when you can get W's within W's. Oh my God, those are the best trades. And then this is what we like to call a reload zone within a reload zone, right? Because you could technically drill down to this here, right? I mean, look at that. Talk about a level. Oh my God, you make me sick. Right in here. Reload zones within reload zones. A W within a W. Try and remember that. If you guys are looking for really good, what should a killer awesome trade look like? Take a fucking screenshot of that, my friends. It's right there in glorious Technicolor. I'll even share it on the YouTube page. Simple as that. I would suggest you just print this chart out on your wall and you say, I only take trades when they look exactly like this. If you can get into that habit, you'll do pretty well, I'll tell you. Anyway. Okay, so currently on Grand, what do we got here? Making new lows. Got this, really good example. Wicks and tails like to be eaten. This is crypto. These guys are all, well, I'm not going to comment on that. Bottom end of the range, right against that tail. Interesting that it sort of touched that and just spiked away. This is relative to Bitcoin, so be a little bit careful in that. Is this a function of GRIN going up in value, or is it a function of Bitcoin going down in value? Tough to say. The fact that it broke to new lows here, Jeff, very briefly, doesn't leave me with a lot of confidence. This is probably a name when I first look at this go, probably needs some more time. You can see how long this setup took to develop. From the ultimate low to the actual sort of breakout day, that was 23 days. So could maybe the bottom come in somewhere around here? I don't know, maybe we go ideally up and down and then up and then breakout. Right? I'd love to see something like that. I suppose. This isn't something that I would consider. But I suppose somebody might say, well, Brian, isn't that a W? When you change it to the clothesline charts, notice this low did make a lower low. So that's a bit suspect. Kind of like here, right? You go, well, isn't this a W? Well, no, because this low is actually lower. There's a cute little W there that translated into that rally, and then it failed. Boosh. So, just even off this daily chart, we haven't really formed a solid W. Let's take a look at that last one. Yeah, so you can see this one here. If you showed that W to your grade 3 English teacher, I think they would be relatively happy. And then, of course, this bigger one here. Right? It's there, but when you actually look at the candles themselves, there's a big hole in the charts here. Something's wrong there. I suppose you could argue, reload zones off of that range. So market comes screaming back down at or below reload zones. I guess, it looks like there's a gap here as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if there were some people that were interested on the buy side down in here. Really dislike when you get this kind of nutso insano. But the good part about it for all you slick traders, if you can somehow sneak in off the bottom end of the range, getting a double on this asset shouldn't be too difficult. All that's really going to mean is a nice move up into these levels. So I'd say you're early right now. I'm a big fan of what they call saucer bottoms, right? Which might look something like that. Actually, the better way to do it, less amateur, would be to go there, probably to there, something like that, and like that. So, let's see how this behaves through here. Maybe this is the bottom, but I don't know. It's nothing really for me to get too excited. If I, hold a gun to your head, I have to get long. Well, there's that big gap right there, so you can see where I'd be interested. Versus USD. It only trades versus Tether. Interesting how it trades versus Tether on Trex. See what it looks like. Yeah. Not much to get too excited about here right just yet. Very sloppy. And you want to sort of see these W's, right? That's what you need to see for this thing to be officially turned. It might. I can't comment on whether it will or won't, but that's what you sort of need to see for next to see this. All right, so there you go. You got Decred, a little conversation about good old Decred, a little conversation about Grin. Somebody else asked another one. Yeah, no doubt about it. Fred says, delisting's toughest part of little old lady. Absolutely. The bottom line here, venture capital, we got to be able to roll with the punches. Before you actually even buy something, maybe even go through and just ask, is this listed on multiple exchanges? If it isn't, then maybe just don't touch it. Can you even install a cold storage wallet on your own computer? The only problem I found with that is you have to download like 10 gigabytes of their blockchain's data, and it's like, oh crap. So I'm not really the biggest fan of having to download the wallets onto my own computer, but always give yourself outs with this, Fred. Super, 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 super important that you give yourself outs. All right, somebody says, good example now of a wick getting eaten and mini W. Yeah, I can understand that. Mini W, that's probably the best way I would describe that. Mini W, and that's one hell of a tail, eh? Holy crap. Is this thing going to go back? What are you doing? Come on. Work, damn you. No, darn it. Oh, there it is. Got a few. Tail, yep. Mini W, sloppy as hell. Sloppy, sloppy, sloppy. But, caveat emptor. All right. Okay, I've been blabbing now for about an hour and a half. I hope you guys got some good value out of this. Talked a little bit about Bitcoin. Yeah. Hey, Shane, we got to sing that song tomorrow night. Bitcoin. Why don't we'll take the video out with a little mariachi singing from the last time, a little while ago when we went out for a social event here in Vancouver. And by all means, if you are in Vancouver or in sort of the Pacific Northwest and you want to come hang out with the crypto kids here in Vancouver, we have a really fun little group. In fact, we're going to have dinner tomorrow night. Well, actually, just a few of us because we're putting together a trading plan that we have to review. But we're always getting together, and I do know that one gentleman in Seattle, and I gave a shout out to you, Shane. We have to decide whether we're going to do a road trip down to Seattle or whether we're going to force him to come up here and hang with us here in Vancouver. So we might be planning a road trip to Seattle here in the near future if I can get some of these locals on board. So, all right, why don't we take you out with a little Bitcoin? Yummy! Here we go. Maybe. Oh no! Stupid. God, you can never buy a break with Google. It drives you crazy. Oh well. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it's our Mercury retrograde right now too, isn't it? So that makes perfect sense. All right, everybody. Tried to give you the Bitcoin sign to take us out. The internet said, screw you, Brian. So you're just going to have to deal with a big bye. Let's leave it on a half decent screen. There you go. Bye. For now. Bye, everybody.